Unit 4 discusses privacy and privacy law. There are four basic torts of privacy law, which include intrusion, public disclosure of embarrassing or private facts, false light, and misappropriation. When it comes to privacy, you have to think whether you're a public official or a public figure or if you're a private citizen. So the difference between a private citizen and a public official or public figure is that once you put yourself in the public spotlight, then you become a public figure. Or if you're a celebrity, sometimes it's without a choice. You're just a public official or a public figure. Public officials are anyone that works in like a public office, like government situations, like the governor, the president of the United States. And sometimes the president of the United States could be considered both. Like our president, Barack Obama, he's considered a public official and a public figure simply because of the types of things he does, like involving the country. He's not as privatized as most presidents have been in the past. A private citizen maintains their right to privacy, and there are many laws that protect a private citizen versus a public figure, but there are laws that protect both. With the four basic torts that I mentioned about privacy law, everyone in the nation has those basic rights. In one situation, a U.S. senator who is married could be having an affair, and if it gets out in the public, that's public's information because that's a public figure, and so it's like we have that right to know based off of their rights that they gave up, mainly dealing with the Fourth Amendment. A married construction worker who would be living like in Portland or something, and they just live a regular life. They just go to work, and he ends up having an affair with one of his coworkers that work in the office. That would be considered private information, and so he would have that right to privacy. And so if his wife were to find out, then it would be an issue, and she could take him to court, of course. But other than that, if people find out and they try to put it in a public spotlight, they could be sued. When I talk about the Fourth Amendment, I'm talking about how it prohibits the government from basically unwarranted searches and seizures within private homes. Up until about 1890, U.S. courts didn't recognize individual rights to privacy. Samuel Warren and future Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis used their article called The Right of Privacy, which was published in the Harvard Law Review book. And they basically used their article to argue that all citizens are entitled to a legal right to privacy. So that's similar to personal property rights and intellectual property rights with copyright law. Except, you're basically the copyright as a person. You have your own rights to privacy. The rights of privacy is basically the right to be left alone. So if you're a private citizen, you have more rights than a public figure would or a public official. But everybody has those same basic four torts of privacy law that cover them. The Galea case shows that celebrities do have a right to be protected from media members like paparazzi who are considered overzealous, and they want to take pictures of you and ask you all these questions when you're walking down the street with your child. And it's like in Kanye West situation where he punched a paparazzi member. He he was walking down the street and the guy was overzealous. He kept trying to get in his face and ask him questions like, "Hey, how you doing, Kanye?" Like at some point there's a line that needs to be drawn, and that line has been drawn with the Galea case in the 1998 California Privacy Rights Act, because California passed an anti-paparazzi law, and they're basically saying that you can't be this overzealous guy trying to ask all these questions, like especially if Kanye West was walking with his child, you can't without permission record somebody and their child. So it's like all of that goes hand in hand, and even though Kanye West is a public figure, he's a celebrity, he still has those basic rights. A big tort of privacy law that I feel is covered with the four basic torts is misappropriation, because with that, people can't just go around lying and saying that you're doing this or trying to ruin your reputation on purpose. That's called malicious intent. And so with misappropriation, you have certain rights to like a celebrity media source not putting your name out there and saying that you did something that you haven't. With misappropriation, that protects a person's right to control public uses of his or her name, image, and likeness.